So top 1% Kendama Ambassador. And when we talk about this, we talk about 3 things a lot. We talk about skill, we talk about community impact, and we talk about presence. And so starting off, I think skill is relatively easy to measure when we're talking about what to strive for. We're talking about striving for pro open level skill in Kendama. This is, actually I'll take it one step further. I think the highest measurable factor that we can actually work with right now is becoming a KWC finalist.
Yeah.
So let's actually just look at those. Let's put those on the pedestal. Let's go being competent enough with Kendama to be able to compete well, to be a normal competitor in Pro Open.
Okay.
And then top,
yeah,
I would say is KWC finalist.
Definitely.
So we use these 2 things to give people a measurable goal to achieve when they say, how good do I have to be, or how good do I have to strive to be, or
like what does elite mean?
What does elite mean? What does top 1% mean? And without these measurable variables, it's hard to determine that, because everyone's so good at filming tricks nowadays. People get super good in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I mean, people improve at such a quick rate now. And there's so many different tricks, and people are so good at different things, but I think we can all say that being able to compete at the Pro Open division and become a KWC finalist, I mean that's one of the highest accomplishments you can give yourself as a competitor when striving to reach a high level of skill. I think that honestly, there's people who are trying to become world number 1. There's people who, I guess don't really play Kendama just to get better. They do it for the community aspect, and by all means, Kendama can be whatever you want. I just think having a goal to strive for as a Kendama player when it does come to skill is a lot more respectable, because I just know that you care about working on yourself just from that message.
Yeah,
just from that message alone.
That type of drive to, work towards an amazing goal. Something that, you don't think you can do, like you want to do it. There's a difference between how amazing a goal is, if you can differentiate between those 2 things. Having that to strive for is always going to guide somebody, to becoming a better version of themselves as a player. That's a fact. If they have a goal to strive for, like people like in Kendama, there's so many players love to, strive for different level KWC tricks. These are now their goals. Their goals are, okay, I want to master all the tricks in the M Open list of X event, or Kendama Kente, or some goal like this. Without a doubt, it pushes that person to get better, without a doubt, for whatever motivation they have, But one thing's clear is they obviously like getting better. They obviously, I've never heard someone say, I just got better, that sucked. I'm not having fun, I've never heard that once in my life.
Not a thing.
And so why this is so important is because we are going for that top 1%.
Yeah.
A person can be an amazing reflection of Kendama to the outside world. Have amazing impact within the community, have gained a lot of respect within the community without having any skill at all, without having very intermediate or beginner or advanced skill. Somebody can still have that, and that's amazing. That's honestly props to that person, really. But when we're talking about the top 1%, these players have it all. These players are killing it in every aspect. That level of skill is something that we're actually, every Kendama player in some way, shape, or form with their mentality is striving towards, honestly. Or they were, at least were striving towards. Becoming better is something that every Kendama player can respect. And it's something that every person outside of Kendama can respect too. Because it's not, I mean, are we ever going to not respect like the top players in soccer history? Ronaldo? Are we ever going to not respect them? People, they're respected solely because of their skill. Not solely, but they're respected mainly because of their skill. And the more you get into it, the more deeper respect can give, because the more you find out about them. But the service level is like, all right, cool. Like they're literally worldwide superstars because they have that type of skill, and something they've strived for that their entire lives. This thing with a Kendama player, like let's bring it to this, and this is a little different than Messi and Ronaldo, but let's talk about Takia. Takia is such a presence in Kendama because of his skill, and he actually cannot talk to anybody who's not Japanese. Like, there's hardly any chance he's doing that. Yet he has so many eyes on him. He's attracted so many eyes to Kendama through TikTok, through Instagram, through everything else he's done, solely because he's actually just that good.
Yeah.
He's that good that he doesn't need words. His skill legitimately speaks for itself. And I mean, that just says a lot. I mean, Nick, you've competed with him more closely than I have. Like, what are your thoughts on how he's kind of impacted the game with that alone?
Yeah, he's able to break language barriers solely because of what he can do with the Kendama. I mean, well, we've seen him, right? You know, at competitions in Japan and also, I mean, online, he has fans cheering for him who have never talked to him in his life, who have never shared an actual conversation, who don't even know anything about him other than the fact that he's the best Kendama player in the world at this current time. And, you know, that's all they really need to know, because he's so good that he warrants their respect and he grabs their attention and gets them interested because of his raw skill and talent by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, not everyone can be world number one.
No.
But this is something that, you know, being a top 1% Kendama ambassador entails, is to strive to become better as a Kendama player every single day. And a big factor about Kendama is how well you can do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's skill. Whether people like to say it or not, it's depending on what your goals, you know, are. It doesn't even matter really. It's Kendama can be whatever you want it to be, but it's a lot more fun when you're trying to work on your craft.
When you're getting good.
It's a lot more fun.
Yeah. It's a lot more
It's
fun.
a lot more fun.
And a lot of players, there are some players who have the mindset that, like, I don't really care about being good. I just want to enjoy Kendama. I just want to flow. I just want to, like, it's just like my for fun thing. It's just, I just do it just for the vibes.
Yeah.
I don't think Takia is getting pissed off that he's better than everybody. I don't think he's mad he's won KWC 3 times.
I think it's fun to be competitive. It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's not just fun to beat somebody. Of course it's fun to beat people. It's fun to get better. It's fun to care about getting better. It's fun to actually care about what you're doing. I think people deep down on the inside, you know, if they're trying to be a top 1% Kendama ambassador, if they try to brush off skill, I think you might just be lying to yourself. Because if you're trying to be the top 1%, if you're trying to represent Kendama to the world in a great light, you know, everyone can respect somebody who's working on their craft. Everybody. You know, there's not going to be one person out there that you respect more than the guy giving it their all on their own abilities in Kendama. You know, I think, you know, if we're to take somebody, put 2 people in a room, you know, we've got someone who's striving to become a better Kendama player skill-wise versus someone who might not take it as seriously, who might brush it off as like, it's whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what it comes to. It can be Kendama or whatever else. You know, I know for a fact that throughout my life that I've seen people in front of me, my mentors, demand respect because of what they've accomplished in their game, you know, how good they've gotten at what they do. And I've seen it in myself too. You know, I've gotten this good at Kendama. I know that played a huge factor, huge role in how much of an impact I had over other players over the span of ever since I started, 12 years, ever since middle school. You know, I definitely wouldn't have got here, rose to this spot today that I have in Kendama right now if it wasn't for my skill. You know, it plays a part. You can make community impact without it, but what's the benefit of not having it? What's the benefit of not striving to become better? I don't think there is one.
There's none. And I think a big highlight of this is also for those who are trying to find enjoyment but scrapping this, you know, this mentality entirely. It's like you might find more enjoyment. You actually will find more enjoyment if you do set goals for yourself. It's not about literally becoming Takia level good. It's about having the vision for yourself to always want to improve, to always know that there's more, you know? And it's good that there's always more, because if there wasn't, I don't think anybody would be playing Kendama. It'd just be boring. Just be boring, dude. Like, I think I think a player sets himself up for a ton of enjoyment if they have milestones to reach. And becoming pro level skill is a great milestone. Becoming top for anybody who's not there yet, for anybody who's not competing in the pro division at an open comp, and having that, becoming a top 30 finalist at KWC, it's a great goal to have for any player on planet Earth, no matter how good you are. Literally, no matter.
It's not just a goal for specific people. It's a goal for every single person.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at us, man, I'd still love to become a finalist for as long as I possibly can.
Same.
And I've won world championships.
Yeah.
And I've won that.
Yeah.
I've finished in the top 5 the past every single year since 2017. You know, it's still something I really take pride in, making the finals. It never gets old, and it's always, you know, putting me on my toes, especially now, the game being so good.
Skill level took a massive jump this past year.
Yeah, it's something that even people that are 12 years in can still strive for, who have reached the top of the game, who people might disregard as, oh, they're good on that, they don't need to worry about that. Their goal is done.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's here forever. As long as, you know, and I know for a fact that we're going to strive to be these top 1% Kendama ambassadors forever. And what that entails is always trying to push our own game in this regard, and I think it's a lifelong, you know, goal for us to have as well. It's one that we will have. It's one that I do have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So community impact. There's this threshold I think people think they have to get through of becoming a sponsored pro to do the things they want to do for the community. You know, becoming sponsored, that to me, having been someone who's been sponsored for 10 years up until recently, it's not peak. You know, this isn't peak. Great goal to strive for, but it's not the make or break to what you can do right now for the community with your own unique goals as a Kendama player.
And I think the strongest ambassadors of Kendama have a level of impact that is almost unrivaled, honestly, by the majority of the Kendama community. And there's a lot of ways about you know, going about this. One that is major that I don't think the majority of the community has tapped into yet is actually sharing more of their thoughts, sharing more of their perspectives, their ideas, and other actual skills when it comes to Kendama, to the Kendama community. Showcasing this online is the easiest way to actually have an impact on the community in a positive way. A lot of us only know each other because of Kendama, you know, and that's amazing. We already have that in with each other. We already have that instant form of connection. Like if I see a person on the street here, they have Kendama, I'm
Your friends.
they're my friend on some level, you know. I immediately have a talking point. I immediately have a connection point, and that's amazing. But how much deeper can it get? A large majority of the community only identifies as Kendama _ their username, you know. But we have so much more to offer each other than that. We have so much more to offer each other and our other players in the community than just, hey, I also play Kendama too. It's a great in, but once you're in, there's an opportunity for more depth. When you share your own ideas, when you share your own perspectives on what's going on even in Kendama, maybe not, it doesn't even have to be about other things. It could just be about your own personal thing about what's going on in Kendama. You give more people an in to connect with you. And then when you go and share your other skills to the community, you now open that doorway up for a more intense connection with other players in the community who have those same interests or who are interested in those interests of yours. And I think why this is so important is because we're all different and we should embrace that, you know. It's amazing. It's the beauty of us as humans, but that makes it that much more special when we find somebody who's similar, you know, who is out of all of their interests in all the arts and sports in the world, we connect on one thing. So for example, if I like Kendama in soccer and I find a player that loves Kendama in soccer, that deepens the connection. And what does deepening the connection do? It helps a person get more invested in Kendama. Straight up. That's just what happens. Because now, these more intense connections not only build your interest level, but build the impact you have on the community. Because, for example, we know a lot of players who are into Kendama largely because of the social aspect. I mean, why do people go to events? Like, what's the thing of most value that people find at events? Why are they spending all that money to go and travel to, you know, events in their nation or internationally across the world? Like, why do they do that?
Yeah, it's connection. And strengthening these ties within the Kendama community, strengthening the base of the Kendama world, which is us, the community aspect. That's what's going to take us and build ourselves the greatest chance of getting to that global scale that we are striving for, you know, where we want to take Kendama in the future. We want it to be a part of many different communities, many different tribes, you know, music, sports. You know, we often say that we want Kendama to be the skateboard for the hands. We want it to be the sports to other sports. We know how much of an impact it has on us. And so we know the truth. Like, we know how much of an impact it can have for any person in this world. But how do we get there? How do we let others know what Kendama's about other than just sharing tricks, sharing stories of missed spikes or, edits. And these are all great. As a Kendama player, I love watching these things. But how can we connect with people on a deeper level, just like you said, with depth? I think a good action step towards this is actually making a 1-minute intro video about yourself and putting it on whatever social media platform you're using, typically Instagram. It can go up on anywhere. Your YouTube, TikTok, whatever you use. Like, who are you? What about you is attracted to Kendama, and what else are you about? And in turn, with creating this video, you're exposing yourself to not just Kendama world, but many others. People in Kendama, you're going to find have same interests as you. That might not be Kendama. For me, it's who can I connect with about training? Who can I connect with about learning other languages? Every single interest that I've had, I find myself connecting with these people on a deeper level than if I were to just post tricks or do things just with Kendama. It usually stems from Kendama and something else. And I think this connection, not only with us, but with Johnny and the other some of our best friends, it's created through not just Kendama, but other shared interests. And I think there's a lot of room on the table for not just special picked players, not just sponsored players. You don't have to be somebody to access these benefits.
Right.
You don't have to be someone special. You can literally be any person in the Kendama community and connect with others on a deep level, regardless of your skill, regardless of how known you are. It doesn't matter.
No. And I think that's a great point you brought up about, Johnny, right? We've been amazing, like great best friends for 5 years now. 5 years. And a big part of that was because of our shared interest in training. And that's a big part of, that contributes to the fact of why I'm still at Kendama. It's part of it, this relationship that I've been able to deepen with Kendama as the entry point. That has a special place in my heart, and that can happen for so many people. And most players actually do this, not online, but they do this in person all the time. It's like they go to the park, they go to the gym or whatever, and let's say they like Frisbee. Like for me, I was playing Kendama, and then my friend, I got into Frisbee. I gave a Kendama to a guy who got me into Frisbee.
Yeah.
He gets really into it. He starts introducing his friends to it. Now the entire Frisbee team on the University of Washington is playing Kendama.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. What if we did this online? People are online all the time. We have so much more opportunity to connect with others, and that deepened our connections, right? With my friend,
absolutely.
Tony, we became way better friends because we took interest in each other's thing,
Yeah.
If we do this online, we're not only deepening the connection between ourselves as players and deepening that interest level, deepening the why of why people are into Kendama, that social, that amazing connection aspect that is rare amongst rare in today's world with other types of, interesting communities in sports and arts. But we're actually spreading Kendama in the most organic way to other areas of interest. That thing that I just mentioned, the example I just mentioned, we do that, a lot of players watching do that all the time.
Yeah.
But to do it online has so much more potential. Imagine a random person watches a video of yours. It's like, wow, Kendama, next video they watch is you doing cooking, you doing, clothes, like fashion, you doing, soccer, basketball, football, hockey, whatever. You lifting weights, whatever. And they connect on that too. That's like, oh wow, this is kind of like this is my person. They look at, like they don't even play Kendama at this point. They're like, that's cool. Oh my gosh, I play basketball too, or like I like cooking too. It's like, this is my person right here. That type of connection is so powerful, and it draws people in. The more you show about yourself, the more opportunity you get for this to happen. That's a lot of why people, if you ask people why they started Kendama, it's honestly through an experience just like this. They found it through another passion or hobby. They knew somebody who knew somebody through. Well, what did that connection stem from? Probably like a shared interest that was unrelated to Kendama, and how much faster would they have gotten there if they knew somebody in Kendama had this thing,
The more multidimensional you are, the more opportunity you have to spread Kendama to different worlds.
Yeah.
And to get there, we don't want Kendama to be a fad forever. We don't want it to be a pop-up thing forever. We want to spread it in the most organic way possible. It's how can we tap into other areas of the Kendama world now who have players that are interested in different things? How can we spread it organically to different tribes, different communities? Just start with ours.
Yeah.
And then branch off from there.
Absolutely.
We can branch off in so many ways, just like you said with Ultimate Frisbee, just with our friend Tony.
Just one example of a million.
One example of a million.
Yeah.
Endless possibilities.
We're all multifaceted. And that's what I think is so cool about us Kendama players. Kendama has done a pretty decent job of infiltrating a lot of different areas of interest, but there's a lot more to do and a lot more connections to bring. And I think for us, we're also multifaceted, but a lot of us are only seen as the Kendama person on Instagram. A lot of us are Kendama _, and then our name. I used to be this person who was living online just as purely the Kendama guy, purely the guy who only posts and breathes and lives Kendama, which, it was a massive part of my life in high school and college. I still remember people telling me, how does it feel to be like the Kendama guy? Do you like being just the Kendama guy? And I would always tell them, look, like, that is a huge part of my identity. I'm not denying that at all, but I knew in my heart, like, I'm more than that. I'm X, Y, and Z, and I'm also interested in X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
We're all so multifaceted as people. And it's a pleasure to know how multifaceted people are if they're open about it, to get to know people more. And that's exactly what we're trying to say here. We're trying to say that getting people to know you more is going to not only deepen your connection between your existing Kendama community, but actually allow you to make connections in other facets of life that will, not only develop you as yourself, not only develop you while you're along this journey, while you're getting used to posting stuff online, more about yourself, posting your ideas, your perspectives, getting more out there. But you're also, again, spreading Kendama to other places in the most organic way possible. It doesn't feel like you're trying super hard to spread Kendama to other places. You're just doing you. You're just literally being yourself and being true to yourself and expressing yourself in the truest way possible. And through that, you just happen to spread some of the Kendama, one of the things that give you the most joy in your life, to other communities and interests. It just happens organically. And then one last thing I want to touch on with this is the thing that probably most people are thinking about when they think of impacting the community. Giveaways, prizes, challenges on YouTube. And then you go and branch out to, doing pop-ups, doing classes maybe at your local school, to either an elementary school class or middle school class or a Japanese class, or, getting in and doing an art show. Some people have done that, we've done that. Running a club. It doesn't take a certain skill level to do that. It doesn't take a certain level of competence in Kendama to go for these opportunities and make them and search them for yourself. Anybody can do this. Anybody can have a massive positive impact on the community if they're beginner skill level and they have 0 followers, Because what can they do? Some of the coolest people I know are taking these steps towards spreading positivity and spreading Kendama in their local communities already, and they have in the past. Some of the best people I know just started Kendama and they were already making these opportunities for themselves. Someone who has been playing for a couple years now, someone that we know, we're working closely with, Xavi in Montreal. There's probably one other player in that city, and he's taking it upon himself, to build this community from scratch in Montreal. It takes action to do that. It takes action to really start to have that awesome positive impact that we might see on video of already established meetup, an already established scene within a city, to be like, oh man, that's so awesome, I wish I had that. Well, 9.9 times out of 10 that scene wasn't already there to begin with. It was made. It was crafted.
Yep.
Anybody can do that. All it took was some initiative from someone to make a post, to say, hey, we're jamming here from 2 to 6 at X spot. All it took for someone to get into a classroom to teach Kendama was them reaching out in some way, shape, or form. For them to put themselves out there and be like, hey, I do this. I have this connection here. I would love to involve myself here in this way for whatever you're doing, whether it be church, school, shows, whatever. These opportunities present themselves to those who are looking. And I think a lot of people think that it's only possible for people who are of a certain skill level or have a certain backing by a sponsor. No, because it really just takes initiative. That's all it really takes. For you, Nick, like, I remember this clearly. We started UW Kendama Club, but we didn't start that if it wasn't for your initiative. You had that initiative and it turned into something amazing. There's an entire community in Seattle now that solely happened because you actually took the initiative to start that club.
We had 11 members come to KDBC.
We're a platinum sponsor.
So KDBC, just because we started the club.
From Washington, from Seattle. And that would not have happened if Nick didn't say, hey, we actually want to do the UW Kendama Club. We had that idea before. We kind of fell off it because of COVID, but we actually want to start. And And you were able to impact so many lives there, and now, and it's still being held by Drew back in Seattle now. And all that happened was from an idea. And whether it be starting a club, we're going hard on the idea of starting a club here, but literally whether it be starting a club, doing a show, doing a performance, teaching lessons, or whether it be just doing giveaways on your account on Instagram or whatever social media you use, doing contests. Anybody can do these things. Literally anybody can. And it's only going to have a positive impact. And the best thing about this is that when you start to do these things, when you become the person who does these things through action, the more these types of occurrences and these types of opportunities will present themselves to you. Because if you aren't looking for it, you're not going to find it. And the more you do it, the more opportunities you're going to get through like referral or people knowing you, or more connections you make through these opportunities. They just present themselves, which gives you more of an impact to the community. And then again, helps you impact the awareness of Kendama in other communities.
And I think if you don't know where to start still, I think the easiest entry point that anybody could take is to once again, present who you are online. Make that 1-minute video. Why should people trust you? Why should people hang out with you? Why should people take interest in Kendama? If they look you up and they only see tricks, and they don't see any emotion, they don't see anything else about you, it's a lot harder to gather people's attention and to kind of get them to think, oh wow, like I want a piece of that. I want you at this school. I want you at my school. I want you at my class. It's a lot easier when people know what you're about and who you are and what you stand for. I think that 1-minute video is essential. I think it's a great way, the easiest way to make a connection with so many people in this community. So the last thing, presence. What do we mean by presence? One of the easiest ways I can think of it is, say you're walking into a Kendama event for the first time, or you meet a player or a pro that you've been admiring for so long, and they're in front of you for the first time. You're like, wow. I'm just feeling something. I'm feeling some energy from this person right now. I'm feeling this aura that I haven't felt before.
You might be shaking, excited, nervous.
You might just be even nervous to say hello or get a sign, or something's happening within you that you can't really explain. You're getting jitters, and someone's creating that for you because they have a presence to you that is so impactful that you just can't hold yourself together.
Yeah. I think that presence is the encapsulation of both of the things we just talked about to a T. Like, a presence is created 100% if they have that skill and that community impact on a high level. 100%.
Yeah.
But what rounds out a presence? What rounds out a presence? And, for us, what comes to mind is a player who's they prioritize so much, find out who they are and who they're not. Their values are so clear, and you can just tell by what they stand for and what they don't stand for. Knowing this sets them apart from just random person right next to them, right? Who doesn't have this type of belief yet, this type of conviction in themselves yet. It makes them stick out from the crowd. We all know, I remember going to, an event, my first event, and having this feeling, this excitement, nervousness, this oh my God feeling, I'm about to meet X person, because they had everything down to a T. These pros, only some pros cause that feeling within me, and you don't have to be a pro to have this, but this type of respect that you have for yourself, that you build for yourself, these type of values that you have, knowing these, you're going to open the opportunity more to touch people's lives in a positive way. You just do. As a top 1% ambassador, you do. Because when you have skill, impacting the community, what else is there? It's how you carry yourself. It's how you present yourself to the room, in person and online. It's both worlds. Because that's how powerful online is now. It's both worlds.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who actually don't have an opinion yet, who don't actually know what they're here to do. And it takes a lot of digging. It took me a lot of digging. It took me a lot of finding out exactly what I like and what I don't like to find out what my mission is for this current stage of my life. And right now, it's to bring Kendama to an unprecedented level it's never seen before on a global scale. That's our mission. When we got back together to do this, that's why we're going all in.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really clear with what I wanted to do. I was just enjoying Kendama as it was for what it did for me, and I realized I was kind of just blending in with a lot of people. Even though I am Nick Gallagher, even though I have done and achieved so many things in Kendama, I just felt like I really didn't know truly what I wanted for myself, what I was here to do. And once you become clear on your values and really what you actually stand for, it makes it a lot easier to know how to carry yourself in front of any crowd.
Yeah, and it's about being true to yourself.
Absolutely.
It's just about being true to yourself. Like the people with the most presence, I don't care if they're a pro or they're just, an eccentric 3-month player who's just loving life at an event. If they're about themselves, they're so in touch with who they are as a person, and they're very true to their values. They have that presence. They have that,
They have that standard.
They have that standard. They're holding themselves to a standard of living that they've crafted through their experience and their, what they've seen. And for themselves, they're doing that. They're not only not so influenced or afraid by others about what are based their actions, but they're also leaving a positive impact on people through being so honed in on who they are. That's how that special type of impact really happens. That's how you can really positively influence someone at the deepest level. And this type of presence that a person has once they become clear on these things that we're talking about, they're not only a presence in the economic community, they become a presence in all other areas that they're touching in their life as well. Which goes back again, it's like you see somebody and we all know this in life. You just see people who you get this kind of goosebumps from them through whatever they're saying, or most about how they're acting, right? Like what they're doing, what their actions are. And you just get this form of respect for this person, how they're speaking, how they're presenting themselves, what they're doing. Like you go into work and they get to know a coworker one day, and you totally know they're on the ball with everything they're doing. It's like, wow, this person really means business. Like this person
demands respect.
This person demands respect. This person demands respect.
And you don't even know them. They don't even have to be. And that's just like saying if a Kendama player is demanding respect from someone who's not even in the community itself. They're just walking around with that presence as a top 1% Kendama ambassador. They know what they like to do. They know what they don't like to do. And that's just who they are. They've set the standard. They've set the bar for themselves. They're always acting in line with it. And they do have an opinion. They do have their own way of doing things. And when someone is so dialed in on themselves, and it's very easy to detect. It doesn't matter who you are.
Oh.
You can be from a different world. You can be, just like you said, if you're a coworker, if you're a random coworker, and I walk in on the first day, and when there's something meaningful in your actions and the things that you're doing them the right way, doing them efficiently with intensity. In that situation, I mean, man, I know you mean business. It's the same thing for Kendama.
Yeah, and I think a big part of this too is like presentation of yourself. Like this is really what tops off being that top 1% ambassador, the top 1% reflection of the Kendama world. Because when you're so clear on this, you find you're now a person who takes care of themselves physically and mentally. Because if you aren't certain, every person who I've ever known who has that presence, they have these things dialed. They have these things on point. They're making conscious effort always, no matter where they are. No matter maybe they're at square one with taking care of themselves physically or mentally, but now they turn on that switch. Now they're interested in doing this. Now they're on the path towards dialing these in. And what does that lead to? Well, they likely now surround themselves with people along the same mindset, lifestyle, leveling up in all aspects.
Because why would you want to be around anybody else?
Yeah.
Once you know that environment, once you get a taste, once you see it, you can't unsee it. I think that's a part of what we're trying to create.
Yeah,
with
and
these standards.
that's why not everybody has a presence too. Not everybody is willing to tap into a level of self-awareness, tap into a level of care that not a lot of players and not a lot of people do yet. We all have it within us, but not a lot of people have actually tapped in. And there's a lot of discovery there. It's not a one-stop journey of you try and think about these things and you find the answer. And no, it's a lifelong
pursuit.
Journey of answering this question. And what can I be? Who can I be? Like, what am I really capable of? Not just in Kendama, but as myself as a person, who can I become? What type of person do I want to be in 10 years, 5 years, next year? What type of person do I want to become? And when you start asking yourself these questions, you find true it may be hard answers because you might realize the amount of work you're supposed to do. But it's only then when you put the work in and you actually reflect what you've been wanting to go towards, you know, to the outside world, to the community, that you have that you actually have this presence that people just know. Like that's like, hey, like a great example, like that's Danny. Like Danny came in about the border. Danny Wade, Ken Dan 10. Perfect example. It's like, dude, this guy, nobody knew him. Straight up, nobody knew this guy because he didn't have an Instagram. Yeah. He's played Kendama a ton, was really good at Kendama. Other than that, nobody really knew him. I'm talking like, I didn't know this guy at all, but as soon as he comes up to me, as soon as I start having a conversation with him, I get to know him a little bit. I'm like, this guy's different. This guy's a different breed of player.
Yeah.
He's done the work. He's done the inner work to know himself. You know, he's had the experience. He's put himself in situations where he's had experience. He's taken leaps to find his true self. You know, he's always working on it. But I can just tell he was walking around at the Dama village about the border. And he's finding, you know, he's making connections that was not going to happen if he didn't do that. He had this aura to him that drew people in. You know, that he had a presence to him, and not a lot of players have that. It's only a select few. But it's worth getting there.
Absolutely. I think to develop this presence and at the same time, you know, you're going to be developing this respect from others when you're constantly leveling up as a player and a person. I think once you get to that level and you have that much respect for yourself, when you're a Kendama player and setting these standards for yourself as a person, I mean, just think about what you're doing for the entire Kendama world. You're putting the Kendama world on a new standard.
Yep.
You're reflecting it in the best way you possibly can. You know, now people are taking not only you seriously, but whatever you do seriously. And thank God you're a Kendama ambassador, because now they take Kendama very seriously, just as serious as you do, because they see a great person that they respect, that they admire, that they're inspired by, reflect something, show something that they're interested in, and that automatically grants respect towards it.
Yeah.
Knowing from my experience, you know, I have a mentor that I extremely respect. He very into juggling. What did I do for 3 months of summer? I juggled. I made it up to 5 balls.
Just because he was doing it.
Just because of him.
Yeah.
Because I thought, wow, if a man as great as him is doing that, man, there must be something to it. So I got into it. I think that is just bound to happen for Kendama as well. You know, it can happen. The possibility is there. I just think people need to realize that whatever they're reflecting out into the world also translates to the Kendama world. Whatever we're putting out there as ourselves is what we're putting out representing Kendama.
Yeah.
And as soon as we level that standard up, man, we're just going to reel so many more people in, get so much more interest, and overall have people take Kendama as serious as we take it.
Yeah.
You know, we know the benefits. We know how big it can be. We know how big it deserves to be. We know that what we're doing isn't normal. The connections, the movements.
This level of hand-eye coordination is actually
not normal.
If Kendama had a skill issue and if the skill cap was just the barrier of Kendama growing to an unprecedented level, we'd have been there, what, 7 years ago?
Several years ago.
7-8 years ago. There's already been that type of level of, you know, hand-eye coordination that's literally, actually when you try and break it down, you actually think about it, it's one of the most impressive things on the planet, genuinely. But why do people get into things? You know, like you said, is it because you're interested in the skill itself?
Is it the tool or the person?
Yeah.
It's always the person. Always. I'm not going to get into something that is being done by somebody that I won't automatically respect, that I won't, you know, feel something from. The chances are just so much lower.
That's sustainability too.
It's not just going to be something that I'm getting into because all my friends are doing it. Obviously, you know, you can get into something just because of the toy. But why do you stick around? It's because of the community, the connections, the people you aspire to be. You know, who's leading? You look towards them. What are they doing? No, I want to be like that.
When you think of this as the grand aspect of the world, not just the Kendama world, it's like the more players we have like this, the more players who are constantly working towards mastering these 3 concepts, right? We're on the journey towards improvement in all 3 things: skill, community impact, and presence. In the most simplest term possible, Kendama just becomes more cool. Kendama just becomes cooler to the outside world.
It becomes more socially accepted.
It becomes just more, the perception of it changes. The overall
cooler.
perception. just
In the
becomes
simplest
more
term.
likable and more appealing.
Yeah.
And appealing in the way that we all know as Kendama players how appealing it is.
But it's going to take more than just grinding as players with just our skill. It's going to take a lot more than just leveling up, getting better at the toy itself, at Kendama itself, to get it on that unprecedented level that we're trying to achieve. There's a lot of work to be done, not only with the Kendama, but as the people who represent it. And I think that's the path that is necessary to take in order to get to the levels that we want Kendama to be at.
Absolutely. Skill, impact on the community, and presence. If any of the stuff we talked about resonated with you in this video, these are 3 pillars that we're working on in G Standards. We're creating an elite environment of Kendama players, a one-of-a-kind environment that focuses on all these 3 things for the betterment, not only for people as players, not only for the transformation of themselves as a player and a person, but for the overall betterment and global spread of Kendama as a whole. This is what we're going for in G Standards. And overall, it is the backing of the entire mission of Gallagher Kendama itself. So if you're interested, we have an opportunity for you to join us. Search the link below, and we'll see you guys next time.